Good morning. Welcome to Counterpoints. We still do not have intro music. We promise we're going to get on that very soon. Should we set a deadline?
No.
No, let's not set a deadline because we will miss the deadline.
It's too much pressure.
We're definitely going to do it. I'm Ryan Grimm. This is Emily Jashinsky. We've got a lot to get into.
That's right.
We got war in Ukraine expanding. But first, in Georgia, the end of the midterms is coming. And potentially, maybe, I'm curious for your take on this, the end of an era. Let's put up A1 here. Raphael Warnock is heading into today with a small but significant polling lead,
right.
But also more importantly, with more than 1 million votes banked so far in Georgia, a significant lead among those votes. We don't know how those people voted, but we know what party they're in, and we'll talk about this later. 52% of the votes in so far are Democrats, 39% are Republicans, the rest independents, and we know in the polls he's winning independents, which means Herschel Walker on election day would have to win that day's turnout by something like 17%.
And if you look at the polls, this is just polls as of Monday. Warnock +5, Warnock +5, Warnock +3, Warnock +4, Warnock +5, Warnock +2. If you go to polls from Friday, Warnock +4, Warnock +3. I'm not seeing any.
Put up A2 here.
Not since November 7th am I seeing a poll that has Herschel Walker in the lead on RCP's aggregation.
Right, and as a result, Larry Sabato's crystal ball moved it over to lean Democrat. Now, polls are often wrong, but what you want to do is you want to combine the polling data that you get with other inputs. And one of those inputs being votes that have already been cast, and another being rally sizes, all the intangibles. You're not, this is something conservatives have been frustrated with Walker about, right? He kind of took off. Like, there's only a month of the runoff. But on a bunch of those weekends, he was just kind of MIA.
Yeah, so, I mean, yes, and 1.9 million votes have already been cast, which is pretty shocking. That's a record for Georgia. They've had about 300,000 people voting early every day in recent days. I mean, that's just an
Whatever
insane
Jim Crow
number.
2.0 did, it did not manage to, stop people from voting.
Well, and I believe Kemp actually cut early voting days from 17 to 5, which, again, I mean, we're talking about 1.9 million in, and just I want to give some perspective on those numbers because they're really shocking. The total number of votes that were cast in the 2018 midterm and the 2022 midterm before the runoff was 3.948 and 3.961 respectively. So about 4 million votes cast. 2 million have already been cast early. In the 2021 runoff, there were about 4.5 million votes cast. Yeah. Again, 2 million of those votes are already in. As you mentioned, Ryan, we have the polling, but we also have the breakdown of voters that have already come and cast their ballots. That number clearly favors Democrats by a margin of 52 to 39. So Herschel Walker was a Trump sort of suggested candidate. Some Georgia Republicans in the party probably would have preferred someone else, but it looks like Herschel's going to lose.
And what does this say about Trump? Like, is this a Georgia-specific thing that Georgia is going to continue to be for however long a kind of a red state where Republicans are in control on the state level? They can gerrymander all of those state legislative seats. They can keep winning the governor's mansion. But on the federal level and on the presidential level, is it just becoming a blue state, or is there something more specific to Trump here?
There's something more specific to Trump here. Specifically, if you look at Brian Kemp, the numbers that Brian Kemp put up on election night, he beat Stacey Abrams, who I would consider a pretty bad candidate, by a healthy margin. He got 53.4% of the vote, 2.1 million votes. Stacey Abrams got about 46% of the vote. That's a pretty healthy margin there, about 7 points, easy victory, whereas Walker wouldn't even come. Right. And so you could say that that's a candidate quality issue. You could say it's a Trump issue. I think both of those questions are correct. Now, Kemp had fallen out of favor with Trump pretty famously over overturning Georgia's results in 2020. So it is, I think, very telling that Trump, a very high-profile Trump enemy or a Trump-appointed enemy like Brian Kemp, who we have an ad, I think, from Walker that shows Kemp giving his support. If that tells you anything, that's been running over the course of the midterms. He did well.
Right. Oh, and if you want to put up A3, that's the website that has these early voting numbers. You can check it out yourself. It's targetearly.targetsmart.com, and it's a Democratic data firm that is able to tell which votes have been cast and whether or not that person is registered as a Democrat, Independent, or Republican. You can fiddle around with all the numbers on their site, but no amount of fiddling makes it any better for Walker. But so the numbers you're talking about, that means that about 200,000 plus Republicans went to the polls on Election Day, cast a ballot for Kemp, and then either voted for Warnock, a write-in, a Libertarian candidate, or didn't vote at all. Just left it blank.
Right.
And if you have a sizable enough number of those people, is that a signal about Trump's kind of drag on the party nationally, or is there something unique about Georgia because of his history there, of his fight with Kemp, his perfect phone call where he's like, I need 11, I don't care how you do it, just get me 11,000 votes, just get it done. And then the Ravensburger leaks the audio of the phone call. He then, barnstorms the state practically for Democrats in the 21 runoff, helping both Warnock and Ossoff win. And I say for Democrats because he set up the $2,000 check fiasco for Republicans. Like after they signed the $600 checks, Trump's like, hey, why don't you do 2,000? Democrats are like, great, do 2,000. And then Warnock and Ossoff ran on, make it 2,000. But then also he was telling everybody that it was rigged and there's no point in voting. So Trump did so much to hurt Georgia Republicans in 2020. Is he more toxic there, or is he equally toxic around the country? And this is going to be a drag on him, despite the fact that, let's be honest, he's still polling ahead of Ron DeSantis. He's still, or not in every poll, but he's still Trump. But how much of a drag is this on him? So
if you look at the numbers, about 30% of people nationwide say they're more of Republican voters, say they're more loyal to Donald Trump than the Republican Party. And that number has actually shifted recently in favor of the Republican Party and less in favor of Donald Trump. So that means the amount of people who say they're favorable to Donald Trump and not just the Republican Party over the Republican Party has decreased, while people who say they're loyal to the party over Trump has changed. And so that is, I think, a really important thing to keep in mind, because there's this hardened faction of the electorate for very good reasons that supports Donald Trump and Donald Trump only, or Donald Trump above the Republican Party. And that's a faction of the electorate that really matters. And I think that might be a faction of the electorate that doesn't go out and vote, let alone vote for Herschel Walker, because they just don't trust the results. So as opposed to it being that Trump is uniquely toxic in Georgia, I would say it's possible that you just have Trump voters who don't trust the election, even though Kemp ushered in those electoral reforms that were decried as Jim Crow 2.0. Right. You can go down the list. It seems entirely possible to me that Walker's results may actually be a glimpse into what happens when you have that remaining faction of Trump voters who won't support Kemp and just won't vote, period. Like maybe they're just straight up.
Maybe only Trump can get them out.
Right, exactly. And that's a problem for Republicans around the country because you can't run Dr. Oz in Erie County and expect to win the same margins as Donald Trump with Dr. Oz. You can't do it. And so, again, for Republicans, it's about finding that sweet spot that right now, electorally, mathematically, Ron DeSantis has done it, but it's going to be difficult. I mean, I don't think you can run Brian Kemp for president. That's not going to be, I think, the ticket that a lot of people get behind. So that's a sweet spot that's incredibly elusive.
Speaking of this Republican sweet spot, Glenn Youngkin did not campaign in Georgia, despite Republicans hoping that he would. Does he come out of this? And we could put up A4. Which is the polling numbers that Emily talked about. All those blues you see over there on the right are the polls coming in for Raphael Warnock, and obviously Youngkin has a 538.com up on his toolbar there. So he sees this. And he's like, you know what, Herschel, I think you're all right on your own. Not gonna come down there. So does he come out of this looking better than he did ahead of time? Like, is that where Is that the analysis Republicans are going to come to?
I think they're definitely looking at Youngkin and DeSantis as people who were able to get that coalition together of what they see as parents, sort of anti-woke independence, but not turn off people by being, what does Biden say, ultra MAGA, hardcore MAGA, whatever it is. And that's sort of what people see it as, although DeSantis has been pretty hardcore MAGA, even though there's sort of been, Trump has been attacking him recently.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.